All right, in this video, we're going to go back to our Minecraft fishing simulator and we're going to add loops to it. So I'm going to go to CS10 Basic Training, Minecraft Fishing. Okay, so we're going to add two types of loops here. The kind that will loop for a set number of times and then the kind that will loop for an unknown number of times. So let's just run this and let's start by looking at the +5. Here's my button. Let's give that an ID. We'll just call it +5. And then this one will be until 200. Okay, I'm going to copy that. We'll go to our script.js and we'll add that to our variables here. Let +5 btn. We'll get that element by ID. Wonderful. And then let until 200 btn. Until 200. Okay, so that just gets a reference to those buttons, and then we need to add an event listener. +5 btn. Look for a click event, and let's just call it +5 will be our function name. Or I should be consistent, I guess, and have the number in there. I think I'm allowed numbers in my variables, so that's okay, and in my function name. So +5. Okay, so we've got this select Steve, select Alex, fish once. That's going to be important. Remember, the fish once would simulate, hey, check what character you are, and then it'll simulate based on a random number what you catch. And then else, if you're Alex, you would do different probabilities. Okay, so that fish once function is going to be really useful. I'm just going to minimize it, actually. Minimize all of these. Oops. Just so that I can see these functions and add the one that I want down here. So function +5, like so. And really, what I want to do is I want to do this fish once code, right? The code that was in here to simulate catching one fish. I want to run this code 5 times. So, well, how do I repeat something 5 times? Well, when I repeat code a set number of times, I usually use a for loop. We can use whatever variable name we want here, num, I, times, I'm just going to do n for number. We're going to start at 1, let's say, less than or equal to 5, n++. So that will loop 5 times. Let's just test that quickly, console.log n. So hopefully if I did everything right when I hit +5, yay, it looped 5 times, right? Generated those 5 numbers. So really all I need to do here is take all of this code inside of the fish once function and copy it and put it inside of this loop. I'm going to format. All right, hit run. And now hopefully what will happen if I hit +5, I caught 5 fish, 2 cod, 3 salmon. Switch characters, +5, 2 tropical, 3 pufferfish. That's like perfect. She's definitely more likely to catch these ones. He's definitely more likely to catch these ones. Cool. And I can keep doing that +5, and it'll increment 5 fish each time. And the picture just shows the last one you caught, right? You don't see, it's too fast to see the rest. Okay, that's it. Really easy. However, really ugly code, because I've got all of this code here for the fish once, and I repeated it all over here. Here's a huge concept that is really important, is there's a much better way to do that. Oh, I deleted that bracket. There we go. Okay, make sure you've got the braces for the function and then the braces for the for loop. What we can do is this function is storing this code inside of it. And just like we do with this event listener, right? The event listener says, oh, there's a function called fish once. When this button gets clicked, I'm going to call that function. And we could add another event listener and pass the name of that function and say, hey, when you click on this title, you could fish once. Who knows, right? Or on the image, whatever. So the idea is we could reuse the code inside of this function. So event listeners use the code inside of functions. Well, we can do that ourselves as well. So the way that we tell this function called fish once to run is basically by just using its name. It's like your parents, sorry, your parents telling you what to do. They use your name. But after the name, we need to use these parentheses after it. Sorry, excuse me. Those parentheses will invoke the function. It'll say, function, do your job. So the name of the function followed by parentheses will run the code inside of this function. So that's way cleaner, right? Instead of copying and pasting all of this code, I can just go fish once and it'll run the code inside of here. So that should still work. Ta-da! +5, +5. Okay, super useful tool, really helps you make your programs more efficient, right? That you can reuse this code and a lot cleaner and organized. Okay, let's do the next one. Oh, I didn't add it yet. Sorry. We had the until 200 button. Until 200 BTN, add event listener, click, and we'll just call this until 200. All right, so same thing, we'll go down here, function until 200, like so. Now, this one's slightly different because I'm not looping a set number of times. I don't know how long it'll take me to catch 200 cod. I could be like really lucky, if it's lucky, I guess, and I catch a cod every single time. The chances aren't high of that happening, but it could happen, right? So we don't know how long this will run. So usually for something like that, I use a while loop, right? While something is true, do this. So what I need to test is my numCod variable, right? And this until 200, I'm going to assume that this means until I catch 200 more cod. I might have some cod already, like right now. And until 200 would mean until I catch 200 more. So 209. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new local variable here to this function because I don't need it anywhere else. I just need it inside this function. And I'm going to call it cod target is going to be assigned numcod plus 200. Right? So what's my ultimate goal is to take whatever I've already caught and add 200 to it. Okay. And now what I need to test is numcod is this variable that's keeping track of how many cod I have currently caught. And when I call this fish once function, that's the variable that gets increased, right? If I catch a cod, it'll increase. So I need to test to say, hey, is numcod less than my target? Right? So initially, of course, it will be. We just said my target is 200 more, so it's definitely less. But as I simulate, I'm going to catch more and more cod. This variable will increase, and eventually I'll reach the target, and this will be false. So while numcod is less, I'm going to keep fishing. And how do I simulate fishing? We run this function. Fish once, open and close parentheses to invoke the function so it does its job. So now this will keep looping and catch one fish, catch another fish, catch another fish, catch another fish, and we'll keep looping until who knows how long this is. Let's use our little accumulation algorithm. I'll just do a little count as 0, count plus plus, and at the end here I'll just go console.log count. And that should just allow us to see how many times did we fish. Okay, let's run this. We'll use Steve because he's good at catching cod. He's got a 70% chance, I think. So let's catch a couple cod first. So 6 cod. I'm going to run until I get 206 now. Okay. Boop. Okay, that was fast. All right, I got 206 cod, and it took me 289 times. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Let's try it again. So my target will now be 406, right, until I get 200 more cod. And this time it took me 286 times, right? So pretty close, but we don't know how many times this is going to run. So that while loop is really important. Okay, and if I did Alex, it might take a little longer. We need 1,006. Yeah, see, it took way more attempts because the probability of Steve catching a cod is 70%, whereas Alex, it's 10%. Okay. Anyway, hope that made sense. Again, it's just a nice way to really illustrate that these for loops are really good at repeating a set number of times, and these while loops are good repeating an unknown number of times, but it allows us to repeat our code so we can simulate things very quickly. Okay. Hope that made sense. And if you feel free to play around with this, you could add more buttons, right? Add a plus 10 or a plus 100, and until you get whatever 1,000 pufferfish, have fun with it and play around with it. If you have your villager in there, right, you could have some buttons for him too. Anyway, hope that made sense. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.